Have you ever overcolored your images? Stay tuned to find out how to fix it. Hello and welcome to Creative Coloring with Iram. This video is part of a release blog hop and I am sharing several cards over at the Altenew blog. Link is in the description. I will be sharing these cards later with you at the end of the video. We do have prizes, so make sure you do check the blog and hop with us. I'm using the Gardenia Duo stamp and I will only be using the 2 outline stamps. I'll first prep my stamp as it's a new stamp. I'm using the stamp conditioning eraser and you can easily brush off the residue with your hand or a flat paintbrush. I will stamp the images onto Crest Solar White 80 pounds cardstock in permanent black ink. And the reason I'm using the permanent black ink is because it's an alcohol marker friendly ink. And I'll be using the Artist Alcohol Markers by Altenew to color. I'm using the Watercolor Garden Artist Alcohol Marker set and I'll be using the purples and the teals from this set. For the flower, I'll use the purples. I'll start by adding the darkest color. I'll be coloring dark to light. I know a lot of people like to color light to dark. I have tried both ways and like them both for different looks. But light to dark and the light again results in a beautiful blend. I have noticed that the darks are not as deep as you would get when you go from dark to light. Reason being that when you go from light to dark, you have to use a light or medium marker again all over the image to blend everything, which results in lightening of the darkest pigment. So you have to go over that dark area again with a dark marker to add deeper shadows, and that's just a lot of work in my opinion. So when I don't want deeper shadows and I'm looking for a softer blend, I go from light to dark. At this time I wanted my shadows to be darker, so I'm going from dark to light. But mostly I use the dark to light method because that is something I have been using since I have picked up the artist markers. I have added the darkest pigment to the end of the petal, the portion that's closer to the center, and also to the areas that might have shadow of the petal adjacent to it. I'll also add this to any notches or ridges on the tips of the petals. Just trying to recreate what an actual petal looks like so it doesn't end up looking flat. By adding flecks of color, you tend to get a more realistic look on your petals. And it helps to add those ridges. You do not have to deliberately add the ridges or those curls onto the petal. The flicks just automatically helps you with the ridges. The magic happens when you blend your flicks really well. The medium and the lightest color plays a huge role in blending. But sometimes it happens that you overcolor an area, especially when a petal that is curled and you think that there's a lot of shadow on that petal and you color it a little too much, ending up with a blob in a place of that petal, and it looks so different from the rest of the petals. Though when you're coloring it, it doesn't. And then you don't know how to fix it. That is what I want to show you, that even if you do end up with a dark petal with no details as compared to the other petals, you can still go back in and reduce the intensity of pigment on that petal. You can even add some highlights to it. I'll color all the petals in the same way, and for the underside of the petals, I'll use the 2 lightest colors from the color family. And if I want to add a bit of shadow, I'll pick up the color by the tip-to-tip method, a dark color, or with the kissing method, where I'll use the lighter marker to pick pigment from a darker marker. But I will not use a dark marker directly, so that I just have a light shading on there. Now here, as you can see, the petal on the right does not look like the 3 petals that are facing downwards. the 3 petals that are facing downwards have a lot of detail on them. They have a very prominent ridges and they look very beautiful as compared to the one on the right. It's quite dark. It has absolutely no detail. I mean, there is detail. It has a satiny look to it, but not like the ones that are facing downwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Zero marker, which is a colorless blender. And this is very helpful in lightening areas. So I'll be basically creating highlights onto the petals where I have overcolored. This is basically, I believe, alcohol, just isopropyl alcohol that I'm adding to the marker, picking up the color from the petal. And it's not just this area, the dark area, that I can work on. I can also go back in and go over the other petals, especially on the highlights and ridges, making them more prominent and further enhancing them. And there you have it. Do you see the difference? It's subtle, but it's so much better than before. I can work more on this area if I want to, but I think I'll stop here because the dark areas are becoming more visible the more I try to highlight the other portions. So I might end up having a blending problem. For my leaves, I'm going to use the teals from the same set. Again, I'm going to start from the darkest to the lightest, and this is very easy coloring. You just follow the midrib and the veins, then blend it out with the lighter markers. So you add the dark pigment and then the lighter one and then the lighter and then the lightest. If you want, you can use the colorless blender again to add highlights to your leaves if you think you have overcolored them. I am doing this on purpose here just to show you that you can use your colorless blender quite easily and effectively whenever you want to. So now I have the Illusion Triangles 3D embossing folder, another one of my favorites. I don't even know how many favorites I have, you guys. All of them maybe? Seriously, which one do you like the best from this release? I would love to know. So I went ahead and ran this through my die cutting machine with an A2 watercolor cardstock. And now I will add a light color wash to this. I will be using the coordinating colors to that of the image. And as you can see on my color swatch here, that I do have the perfect teal color that matches my leaves exactly. It's the same shade, but my purple, it's a bit different. So I will be creating my own custom shade by mixing a bit of blue to the purple already in the artist watercolor pan set. And once I know I have that perfect shade, I'll add water to the panel and drop in the purple pigment. I'll then spread it around. I'm actually making a base for my flower. I just have one flower and a few leaves. I'll also have a sentiment tab. So this is going to be a pretty clean and simple card. A pretty clean and simple card by my standards. So after adding the purple, I'll add the teal pigment. Try just to drop this in where the purple is and let them mix on their own. Let the water do all the work. Don't overwork the area. The pigment will flow into the ridges of the embossing design and it looks really cool after it dries. Then I'll add a few splatters so my watercolor doesn't look like a blob but gives off more of an artsy look. Once I'm satisfied with how it looks, I'll heat set this. At this point, if you think that your panel has become a little flat, you can fit this back into the embossing folder and it will fit right into the ridges of the design, and then run it through your die cutting machine again. Then I'll add a few black paint splatters. The reason I'm adding the black paint splatters is because I have heat embossed my sentiment onto black cardstock. So the black paint splatters is going to balance the sentiment tab. Next, I'll adhere my images and sentiment with instant dimension foam tape. by Altenew, which I absolutely love as it doesn't stick to my scissors and it's quite dimensional. I'll then adhere a few gems and my card is done. I'll be sharing a few more samples with you that I created for this release, all featuring the same set in various ways, except for one that features a mini stamp. You should check the blog for project photos, details, and of course also to take part in the hop. Do let us know your favorite products from this release in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye!
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!